SMPLive, a place where the end is nigh. It's hard to deny the feeling of finality that's been floating around lately. There was even a brief period of time when a lot of viewers thought that SMPLive had ended. The server is still up and running as of the creation of this video, but who can tell for how long. Now, one thing I will say is that I don't have the answers you are likely looking for. I may be a member of SMPLive, but I know just as much as you do. I can't say for sure whether SMPLive will end in a week or a year, but I can at least make a video talking about how big this whole thing has become. I make videos about the past and present of SMPLive, but I don't often dip my toes into the future. Making that type of speculative content when I myself am a member of SMPLive can be potentially dangerous or send the wrong message. The last thing I want to do is cause an outcry just because I said the wrong thing. Anyway, the end of SMPLive. It's kind of a big thing right now in the SMP fandom. As I said earlier, there is almost a sense of finality surrounding the server, especially with various members saying that SMP is dead or over. But this actually isn't the first time something like this has happened. SMPLive has supposedly ended a bunch of times. I'm here to talk about those times and what happened as a result. So let's dive in, shall we?
Yes! We did it!
We did it, boys!
The first instance of SMPLive ending actually took place quite a while ago when Schlatt and Antvenom defeated the dragon. If you've watched my video about the Dawn of Stahl, then you'll know that the story is as old as the server itself. There is a case to be made that this was the main storyline of SMPLive. When the dragon was defeated and the Dawn of Stahl was over, Schlatt and Ant decided to come up with a bit. The bit was that Schlatt and Ant would claim that Season 1 had ended after the dragon was defeated. This confused not only a lot of fans, but also some SMP members. I personally remember being a little bit uncertain about the future of the server because so many people were going along with this bit. Eventually my stupid ass caught on, but I think it took a little bit longer for the fandom. I think you could argue that this truly was the beginning of the end. Once the duo had defeated the dragon, activity seemed to slow down a tiny bit. Veterans no longer played actively, and viewership was starting to decline. However, SMPLive wasn't ready to die just yet. We didn't know it at the time, but the server still had several months worth of gas left in the can. Even if the older members stopped playing, even if it felt like there was nothing left to do, new members were still being added and keeping the server active. But little did we know, something was being worked on that would throw the server into a new chapter of its lifespan. A feature that would alter the way the server was played. A new way that viewers could interact with their favorite streamers. Enter the Wacky Wheel, a brand new game-changing addition to SMPLive. The wheel was added about a week after Schlatt and Ant defeated the dragon. Some people like to consider the addition of the wheel to be the beginning of Season 2. This isn't actually the case. I think people were just riding on the meme that spawned from Schlatt and Antvenom. The wheel was an original idea from Carson, and it was implemented into the server by the tech support guy Yoshi. The whole gimmick of the wheel was that if you reached a certain amount of money in a single stream, you could spin the wheel and you would get hit with a random effect. If Schlatt and Antvenom defeating the dragon was the end of Season 1, then the wheel was the beginning of Season 2. Again, the whole thing was kind of just a meme, but it still had people believing that SMP was in its second season. Whilst the Wacky Wheel may have been considered an end of sorts, it really didn't affect the server in a way that an end should. If anything, it really only brought inactive people back to SMPLive just to see what the wheel was really about. The wheel was cool, but it didn't stop the eventual decline in player activity. As the months went on, less and less people were playing SMPLive. September rolled around and everyone took a hit in viewership, which made some people even less inclined to play. Is it really anyone's fault? No. Minecraft servers, from my experience, don't usually last very long, so when a server lasts over half a year, it must have been something really special.
Here we are. It's time. It's the Tekken
I've never done this before.
Schlatt Tekken series was one of the many separate SMP servers made by SMPLive members. Most would have their own gimmicks that made the server stand out, but it didn't stop people from comparing it to SMPLive. It wasn't just Tekken Tuesdays that suffered from this problem. I remember having my own personal Feed the Beast server that featured a lot of other SMP members. For a while, I exclusively played on the server because I just wasn't interested in vanilla at the time. And again, I still remember getting questions related to the end of SMPLive. The same thing happened with other servers such as SMP Classic, which was a series played in beta versions of Minecraft and would update every week to the next version. Now, while the existence of these servers didn't mean the actual end of SMPLive, maybe it did send a message that SMP was drawing closer to its last breath. I mean, what else are people supposed to think when a bunch of the players go off and make their own servers? I'm definitely not blaming anyone for trying to kill SMPLive or something like that, but I can definitely see how viewers would misunderstand the situation. But anyways, SMPLive continued kicking on as usual whilst the other servers seemed to die out. This server just wouldn't die, no matter how many people stopped playing.
Chat, today we're going to be doing Shark Tank.
Fast forward to November. SMPLive had a new event in the works called Shark Tank. The point was to prepare some kind of invention, and you would have to convince the judges that it was worth investing in. Sounds fun, right? Well, not when there's 30 people all trying to get a word in. The event was, in all senses of the word, chaos. People were getting sidetracked, the theater was being blown up, and no one could hear anything over the voices of 30 people trying to give their piece. It eventually got to a point when Carson muted his sounds and said this.
This is absolute chaos and it's just not working out. Yeah, it's not going as planned. Because no one's actually doing what we wanted to do, so it sucks.
After hours of the Shark Tank going on, the event finally came to a close with Yoshi blowing up the theater and a large portion of Spawn. The final 10 minutes of Carson and Schlatt's live streams was spent declaring that SMPLive was now over. Spawn was rolled back, but there was still some damage left over. People who had died in the explosion didn't get their items back, and as a result, had to completely start over. SMPLive fans were going crazy. This was the most uncertainty surrounding the server's future that there had ever been. Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube comments, nobody knew what the fuck was going on. Was SMPLive over? If it is over, then is there a Season 2? When is Season 2? Well, over the next few days, Michael McChill continued playing on SMPLive. Although while he was playing, Yoshi, everyone's favorite omnipotent entity, decided to have some fun with Michael. Yoshi sent a message to Michael using the server console. The message was in binary. Once translated, it led to a web page with the URL smplive.net/media/theend.txt. On the web page was a giant wall of text that was in base 64. The text was ran through a base 64 image decoder, and once it was finally translated, Michael was graced with a picture of the wacky wheel. Michael immediately headed to the wheel to give it a spin. Once it was done spinning, the server closed. But then it came back online. And when it came back online, something that had never happened on SMPLive was about to take place. Krinios logged in without streaming. He was hanging out with Michael, who was dealing with the aftermath of Yoshi's elaborate prank. Sooner or later, Carson logs in without streaming, and the group moved towards Fallen Kingdom. He messes with Michael by giving him random potion effects like levitation and jump boost. More people started logging in, including Poke, Ultrive, myself, and many others, none of which were streaming. Everyone was given several stacks of TNT to place around Fallen Kingdom. Obviously, a lot of unnecessary destruction took place, but it did get rolled back, granted with a few missing blocks here and there. So what did this mean for SMPLive? It's been a very strict rule since the beginning of the server that if you want to play SMPLive, you have to be streaming. So what happened to the players who were playing without streaming? Well, nothing. Everything kinda just continued as normal. No one got in trouble and absolutely no one got banned. It ultimately didn't really matter that 10 people were playing on SMP without streaming. I tell you about the fandom reaction to this, but only 200 people actually watched the event. A few days later, Fallen Kingdom was complete. Ultrive and Krinios said their goodbyes to SMPLive. Next came Wilbur Soot, who streamed a few days later. He too announced his retirement from SMPLive. November 18th, Connor Eats Pence uploaded a video on YouTube, his goodbye to SMPLive. By November 23rd, both Arliss Finch and Reflex had also announced that they would stop playing SMPLive. A lot of emotional posts started popping up from fans on Tumblr and Twitter, all talking about their love for SMPLive and how they were upset that it was ending. So, it seems like SMP is really over, right? I mean, what else are you supposed to think when all the members stop playing? When people can play on the server without streaming? And when a new SMP is on the horizon with most of the previous SMP cast? I'll refrain from giving my thoughts on the current status of SMPLive. It's obviously true that the server, on its current map, peaked a long time ago. But what I will say is that SMPLive has done a lot for me. I have so much to be thankful for. I've met amazing people and had an amazing experience that I will never forget. Which is why I think SMPLive shouldn't end like this. The server has done so much for so many people, and if it's gonna go out, it shouldn't go out by fading from relevancy. It should end with a loud chaotic bang, because that's the spirit of the server, right? SMPLive isn't like any other Minecraft server on YouTube. We're loud, we're gross, and it's the most unorganized mess I've ever seen. But I still love SMPLive. Which is why I want to see it get the ending it deserves. I'm not the owner of the server, and I will respect whatever decisions Carson makes. But if this truly is the end of SMPLive, then I want there to be one final celebration to send the server off.